Running our own business isn't easy, and it can be a tough gig for all of us at times, and only other business owners truly understand the challenges that we face. And on ScaleUp Radio, we aim to help make things just that little bit easier by interviewing guests who have been where you are now, regardless of where you are on the scale-up journey, and maybe facing some of the challenges that you are facing. And they offer their thoughts and advice on what has worked well for them, as well as what didn't, of course. And we've also combined many of these lessons into a practical scale-up handbook called the Entrepreneurial Scale-Up System. And there's details of this at the end of the episode. So welcome to ScaleUp Radio.
Hello, Damian and James. Welcome to ScaleUp Radio. Please introduce yourselves to the audience.
Hi, Granger. Thanks very much for having us. My name's Jay. I'm the CEO of ElevationX Studios and the co-founder, along with my colleague. I've got 15 years experience in product development and engineering leadership, with my technical and entrepreneurial experiences gained from companies like Dyson, McLaren, and more recently my own tech startup.
Hello, Granger. It's Damian here, and I'm the COO and marketing and business development guy here at the ElevationX Studios. My background is B2B and D2C, selling on platforms such as Shopify and Amazon Seller and Vendor Centrals. That's over 10 years of building brands for those platforms. And I'm the co-founder of Nancy beauty brand, along with my wife, which is still going strong. But today we'll like to discuss the new project we launched with James, and that's the ElevationX Studios.
Brilliant! Wow, what a two massive entrepreneurs, lots of opportunities to talk about growth and how to do things right and do things wrong. I think we've got a wonderful time ahead of us through the rest of this conversation. So we're going to focus on ElevationX Studios. So tell us about it. What does it do? How big are you? How long have you been running?
So we are primarily a service provider. So our focus is to provide 3D visualizations and AR enhancements to e-commerce brands to ultimately boost their sales through increased customer confidence in the products and also reduce returns and consequently maximize the company's profit.
And some of you probably are wondering, how did we even come up with that idea? So let me tell you a little bit about that, if that's okay. So myself being an Amazon seller, both selling on the vendor platform, 1PL, as well as the third-party platform, Amazon Seller Central, I was made aware that Amazon has opened up their categories to more sellers, more categories. The ability for uploading 3D models was enabled. That made me think that it could be beneficial for our own brand. So I decided to do my research online, and I struggled to find a good quality model at affordable pricing. Having a chat with James, I was aware that he's an engineer, and he had an experience with 3D modeling software. I've asked him if this is something he would be interested in helping me out with, and he did.
Yeah, it was born really of a favor to a friend. That then, on looking at what we were actually doing, it started to become clear that there was something more to this. So the 3D modeling side of things was easy for me. They weren't particularly complex products. It didn't take me very long. The bit that then became more nuanced and certainly took more understanding was how to get it into the format that is acceptable and therefore going to be approved for use on Amazon. Through a series of failed attempts at Googling this information, I realized that actually that information isn't readily available. And I started to build up my own understanding of how to do this through trial and error with Damian's brand. But that made me think, well, if we are struggling to do this, how many other people that this is now being opened up to are struggling to do this? And to throw a statistic in there, there's currently an estimated 9.3 million global Amazon sellers, all of whom sell products and now have the ability to do this. But there aren't really any large number of companies serving this process. So we started to think, well, I think there's a business here. And in starting to scope out a business, we then started writing down a problem statement to help us define what the company mission was going to be.
Very good. Yes.
And in writing that problem statement, we started to actually realize that the problem was larger than this. So we realized that actually it's not just 3D models that are the requirement, but what people will ultimately want to do with them is also still relatively in its infancy and needs development. And what I'm talking about there is augmented reality. Ultimately, these brands that are able to add these 3D models to their products are doing so either to give a bit more interaction on their webpage for the customer to have a look around the product. But a lot of these brands are using it to have the ability to place that somewhere in the room to give the customer confidence that what they're purchasing is what they actually want. And at the moment, those technologies that are being employed in respect of that are acceptable, but not really servicing all of the different scenarios that a user might want to use. And that's where the other part of our business, the software development around enhancements to AR and AI integration with that, is where we are positioning ourselves.
And is that something that you have today as a service then, or you are developing alongside what you've got?
So our current offering is the ability to generate the 3D and AR models for not only Amazon sellers, but also the Shopify sellers, as well as any other platforms that people are using. So we do have a solution in place where we can embed that 3D model onto any platform, including WordPress, Wix, anything else you may think of. So that's what we offer at the moment. An easy way to order a 3D model like you would be ordering a takeaway or a McDonald's. You go onto our website, you select the core package that you'd like, depending on the complexity of the model. You provide us with a couple of images, dimensions, you check out, and that's it. Transparent pricing, transparent process. The models are then delivered to you within 3 to 5 working days.
So very, very much like the seller's model that you've used to selling, you're now actually applying that to your own clients to buy product through to you. So, okay, yeah, fascinating.
Exactly. It's a proven, tried and tested method that has been, like I said, when we were looking into this ourselves, it was hard to come across a solution like this. Other people are doing 3D modeling services, but they are against the quotation model. The lead times are not clear. And for the majority of sellers that haven't got an enormous budget to apply to this sort of marketing effectively, they are inevitably put off by that. And you have this kind of thing in the back of your mind that's saying, well, that's probably quite expensive then because it's saying quote, as opposed to it is for X amount of money.
Yes. So, I mean, okay, I'm a seller on Spotify or whatever. What would even trigger me to think, I could do with a 3D model? I would want a 3D model. What are sort of pain points or the triggers that are going to say, right, I need to go and find you guys and your amazing product?
So, yeah, I asked myself the same question, and it comes back to. It comes back to really what our target industry is. So we're primarily at the start targeting the furniture, lighting, and home decor or home furnishings industries.
Okay, yeah.
And that will help me to frame quite a significant pain point for these companies. So as the the like kind of physical shop costs are escalating. Shop rates are climbing ever more. A lot of companies are now moving to more online reliance for their product sales. But for some companies that are selling furniture, you have a lack of customer confidence that it is going to work for what you want. No one really is going to confidently buy a sofa or a new chest of drawers without physically seeing that in the room, or digitally seeing it in the room, should I say. Yeah. Because you don't know whether it's going to fit in the right place. Is it going to look right against the rest of the furniture? And where that customer confidence causes problems for brands is it inevitably leads to high levels of return rates. Now, for furniture companies in particular, those returns are expensive. More often than not, the products don't come back in the same state that they left the warehouse. So those have to be written off as damaged stock. For someone like IKEA, who do actually have an AR system in place at the moment, albeit we'll come on to that a bit later. They're flat packed. So almost as soon as the customer receives it, it is rendered useless back to IKEA. So those costs are massive. And what they're doing is they're squeezing the margins available to these sorts of brands down to the bare minimum. So these brands have to rely on volume. And for those that can't reach those volumes, it's very difficult to make the money. So we want to appeal to those brands and say, look, we can make your product offering on the website more interesting, more engaging for the customer, and give them more confidence right at the start. But we can also cut the costly returns that you're having to delete from your overall profits, and ultimately maximize what you can make.
Excellent. Yes, I can really see that as a big benefit for that. So, as a team, as a business, what do you strive in there? What makes you? We think we know what makes you different. What do you want to be best known as best at?
So the feedback we had from potential customers is where these apps lack, and we took that on board, and we have an amazing team. Our CTO with over 20 years experience in the software, recently in ML and AI. He's already developing a solution in the background where we'll be able to improve on those existing features. That is really exciting for us, and that gets me out of bed in the morning.
Brilliant, love it. So you're going to revolutionize industry with some software. You've got patents coming on. I love patents. Yeah, protecting your IP and what you're doing. Your design thinking. You're going to become better than even the basic models that are out there for doing that. So what are the you've said people are wanting more of these. You're focusing on one type of industry. Is that true? Have you done your market research? What have you found out about these people? Are they asking for this type of requirement at the levels of growth that you think you'll achieve?
So being the business development guy here in ElevationX, I've spent enormous hours on prospecting potential customers. And as James mentioned, we are focusing around the home category, being furniture, lighting, accessories, also the outdoor furniture. It's an amazing big market. Yes, definitely. They do want that implementation on their websites. Some of them have already done it, and they want a central base, so someone that they can rely on, someone that they can actually call or send an email to, and that's what we can offer them: the UK-based customer service and support.
The key thing we've been trying to learn with regards to that market base is how best to place our price point. That was the significant unknown for us at the start, and our price point originally was based on based on a costing and a margin expectation. But through that prospecting, we've been able to understand that our pricing is very competitive, if not one of the best on the market, which we hope to further improve as well with the introduction of one of our R&D features, which will be around the AI 3D modeling. So for low fidelity models, we'll be able to utilize AI tools to be able to develop those models for customers, as opposed to using human design resource.
Yeah.
And that will mean we can do those for very cheap. And at the moment, our strategy would be to do that against a subscription model. So companies will be able to subscribe to our service and then ultimately just get as many models as they need.
Well, recurring revenue is a really important aspect for businesses to help grow. So you're taking a commodity product and turning it into, a subscription-based product based on speed and using of automation. Wow, very, very, very clever. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I can see how that will help you grow and develop. So well done on that one. And so, okay. We know what you do. We know what excitingly is coming and what you're developing. Tell us about ElevationX. How long have you been going? Where are you now on the journey? You've talked about at least one other person that's not in the room at the moment. Take us through the business.
So we are a young company. Myself and Damian founded this business this year. But we've already started to scale. We have the core team in place. So there is myself, Damian. We have a CTO in place. We have a COSEC / chief of staff in place who's helping us with our finance and HR and other secretarial duties. But we've started to scale externally as well. So I have been in the process of building some strategic partners abroad to help with design resource, of which we can now achieve significant scales far beyond what we're actually able to achieve from even a marketing perspective at the moment. So we should be some time before we start to see any capacity concerns. But we are through that process building up what we would like to say is resilient revenue for brands. So we're targeting these brands that once they see the benefit of our service, will be very reluctant to relinquish that benefit. And therefore, you say about recurring revenue, if you can generate resilient recurring revenue that people cannot see their company continue without, it's very compelling and obviously gives us a very reliable income that we can then use to cover our expanding overheads.
Building a sticky model. Lovely.
Exactly.
And okay, so you're fairly on. How have you investment? Have you taken on investment? Are you bootstrapping it? How are you building this model?
A bit of everything. Certainly bootstrapping, but I don't think you can warrant being a founder, one of the founders without bootstrapping. No investor wants to invest without knowing that you're eating out of a cardboard box. But no, we have secured our, I say pre-seed investment. Yeah. So we have some investment backing with continued investment as part of that agreement based on a set of milestones to be achieved. But we don't envisage having to take on a huge amount of investment. A lot of what we want to do can be done through relatively affordable software development. So most of our overheads will be paid for by incoming revenue.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, very nice. I like that. And that, by keeping it in-house, by retaining that money and letting that grow, you can scale that quicker as long as the marketing. So tell us, marketing is really key in any business to find those clients, then sales after that. So, what have been your strategies and your go-to-market thinking?
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you. Without the customer, there's no point running a business. So, as I said previously, I'm prospecting potential customers. I'm spending hours every day on LinkedIn researching those mainly UK brands in the furniture industry, furniture and lighting. So if anyone is listening and they received an email from me, I apologize for sending cold email, but
time to open it and react, because the world is changing. There you go, Damian. There you go. I've plugged you. Keep
Absolutely.
going.
Thank you so much. So, as I mentioned, cold emailing email is still the best marketing tool in your toolbox. Has an amazing open rate if it's done properly, and also obviously LinkedIn emails. That's something we utilize on a daily basis. So that's the kind of outbound marketing. With regards to inbound marketing, we have an amazing learning hub on our web page where we create free content for e-commerce brand owners, e-commerce merchants, where they can learn how they can improve their sales through not only AR and 3D, but also through different methods, as well as reducing return rates and CRO. So we offer that as well as the newsletter for anyone who's interested. We would definitely like to invite you to join that. There is a YouTube channel in the pipeline, and hopefully maybe a podcast at some point, if the time allows. With regards to paid advertising, we would use Google Ads, which is definitely an amazing tool for getting some warm leads directly onto the website, and we will definitely also take advantage of LinkedIn ads for the more kind of warm leads, giveaways, as well as sweepstakes for growing our mailing list. We also not going to forget about Facebook, Instagram, which we'll use to mainly target the e-commerce kind of aspiring e-commerce owners, where that will put the learning hub in front of them. So that's the kind of strategy we've got with regards to the marketing, and we hope that this will bring us some customers in.
I like the idea of the learning hub. You're teaching them how to buy your product and why you need your product. Brilliant. I like that approach. A really
Absolutely.
interesting idea. So, okay, so you're building a business. Okay, let's talk about the business a bit more now. So, there's the two of you. You've got a CTO now and someone else. How do you all work together? How do you make the right decisions for what to focus on next and do next? What's your approach?
So, I mean, in terms of working together, there's the inevitable challenge that we have, which has been something that's been building up over the last few years globally, is that there are a number of people that are remote. So I am very close geographically to Damian, so we can work together, and obviously we do that as much as we can. Our CTO has actually just moved back to Poland, and our chief of staff is in London. So in terms of working together operationally, we have to have regular meetings, not loads. I'm definitely not an advocate of meetings for meeting's sake, but we certainly start the week off with a kickoff meeting to cover what we need to do that week, and have a wash up meeting at the end of the week. And we're using an online task management tool at the moment that has certain features like Kanban boards, etc., that we can share all of that information without having to pick up the phone and speak to each other. And it's giving us the opportunity to get a lot of information within a single task item, but also have the traceability of what was discussed, what was done, etc. And we're using those to monitor how each of us are getting on, whether there are any problems. In terms of actually working with these people, the CTO and the chief of staff I worked with before, so very familiar with those guys. I've worked through some very challenging times with those two guys, and so I knew that I knew what they were capable of. I knew they had what it took to get this thing off the ground. Both of them have worked in startups, and in fact, our chief of staff has been a successful exit of a startup, of a company. So I knew how they worked. I knew how hard they would work, and that's how we operate. We push each other to try and get as much done within the short amount of hours that a 24-hour day actually allows you.
Restricted by the day cycle. Yes. Entrepreneurs wish there was more. Yes. Yeah. If we ever meet again, I'll tell you about a colleague of my father's at university who decided to change all of that. But anyway, that's another tale for another day. So yes, you're picking people that that have the experience that you've even worked with to do that. So that shows us the experience that you've had up to now in the other businesses. So what did you do to create this business based on some learnings that have gone wrong in the past? Give some thoughts to why you think you'll be more successful this time compared to other time due to key learnings that each of you have had.
I've been running a business for over 10 years, and initially it was not as expensive, I would say, to run the marketing campaigns as it is now. Back in 2012, I was able to get an amazing coverage on YouTube or any other media at very affordable pricing. Sometimes it would be just a matter of offering a product in exchange of our a feature. And over the years, that has dramatically changed. The marketing budgets have to be increased year on year in order to achieve similar results. The cost of acquiring customer is definitely more expensive than it was. So the spend had to be made. Some of the investments into marketing didn't bring a return on investment. There was no return actually at all, even where you would see that the return should be there. It wasn't. So I also used to do some trade shows, and they didn't bring a lot of business in, unfortunately, and the costs were huge. So definitely, when we first started this business, I did say to guys that we have to be very careful with the spend. We have to basically plan everything ahead, make sure that we don't just spread the money on any of the marketing activities, and I believe that will make us succeed on that field.
So from my experiences, they're significantly different to Damian, not in contrast, but from a different perspective. I have not run an e-commerce business before. But what I have done is worked in and also started a tech startup myself. So my key learning is really around the kind of statement that people band around, the cash is king. And it really is. One of the things I learned was that in today's economy, and this wasn't even true necessarily from 2021, is that you have to be generating revenue. You have to be default alive as a company today. And that's from the perspective of being a sustainable company, one that can actually continue, but also from being attractive to investors. With investors, certainly in the tech space, having been stung over the last couple of years, they're now significantly less risk adverse, and want to make sure that you are able to generate something from their investment as soon as possible. And that was a big part of our strategy from the very beginning. Was we want to be developing this advanced software tech. That's our key mantra, our mission. But we needed to be able to generate revenue now. And this is where the kind of focus on the 3D modeling and delivering services now came in. The other thing that I learned from a previous experience, which isn't necessarily indicative of how every business should be run, but certainly one of the challenges that are faced for hardware companies at the minute are around the logistics associated with that, and also getting access to base materials or base components. Electronic suppliers, have been struggling with getting the chips in place because of the shortages, etc. One of the things I wanted to steer away from was not hardware in totality, but a reliance on hardware, and certainly moving away from having to have a large amount of capital up front to invest in the development, but also having a reliance on those fairly difficult to deal with logistical issues at the moment.
Wow. Just giving us a nice masterclass in startups. So yeah, manage the cash, manage the spend. Cash is king. Revenue now. Well, actually, you could say that to every business, but you'll be surprised sometimes how we do that. And picking something that actually you're not spending a huge amount of capital up front. Wow, guys, what a fantastic conversation that we've been having. So we'll go on then. One last businessy type question then for you both. Okay, cash is so important. How do you keep an eye on what tricks? What do you do to keep an eye and manage cash in a business?
So the most important thing I did was bring Nick, my colleague, on board as chief of staff and COSEC. He is the most diligent financial controller I have ever come across. And there's absolutely no spend that can be made in the business without him breathing down our necks, making sure that it's worthwhile spending, that we're doing it the right way. And this is exactly what we needed. Coupling that with a detailed financial model that I'm keeping up to date and understanding exactly what the different aspects of our business we're spending money on, whether that's internally for software or for marketing, or even against externally sourced resource. And then tracking that back to a very detailed 1 week on, 1 week on P&L to ensure that we are generating the profit that we need to be generating. And in keeping a close eye on that is exactly how we're making sure that we are always going to keep a relatively positive and healthy cash balance.
Well, Jay, I highly commend you for that. One of my criticisms to lots of businesses I meet is that they have very poor financial management and control. They don't have that level, and what you've just given us is almost a 101 masterclass for that bit as well. So fantastic. So guys, we're gonna meet again in 5 years' time, and maybe face to face, have a cup of coffee or green tea in my case, because I don't do coffee. And we're gonna sit and we're gonna talk about the last 5 years and how well it's gone. What's happened in the 5 years for you guys to say, both professionally and personally, it's been a successful, amazing time.
So definitely we want to have the AR software application developed, and that will open us up to a completely new market where we can compete with the giants of such as IKEA app. This is definitely where what we've planned out for the next 5 years.
I have quite grandiose ideas for the business, and I think from my perspective, I don't really want the business to be recognized or known as a 3D modeling or even an AR development company. I want to be recognized as a tech company where we are looking at that space, because I think there is an enormous amount of potential within e-commerce to really, really change the face of how that operates and how people interact with products. And AR is really just the tip of that. So in 5 years' time, I would like to be recognized globally as a brand that is at the forefront of this industry, but known for our tech development, known for some of the features that we've put out there that no one else has done, that we have our name against. And I want to see the business grow and become something that is a household name.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Well, what a conversation we've just had. We've had, how to really create a startup based on your experience and learnings, so building a business based on a conversation that you had. I've got a problem here, how can I fix this, what could we do? Turning that into now an idea. You mapped out a problem statement, you mapped out what you would actually think about the marketplace would actually need. You did some research before doing that. You've built a business around people that have the experience to be able to take and to grow, taking you forwards. You're thinking about where you're going to go with your technology, and you're building software that allows this to take place. But thinking about the customer, even talking about your selling process, you're going to teach your clients how to actually, why it's such a benefit to have that structure and everything else. Building a business that it has a subscription model from the beginning, really thinking about that. I love that resilient revenue. Fantastic. Yeah, I've had really, really great statements around that. But that real attention of detail, that's really important. Yeah, you recognize that cash is king. You recognize how you need the financial modeling and controls in place to make sure that you're doing that. And that most important statement, revenue now. Revenue now. Brilliant. Absolutely. Well, guys, what a fantastic conversation. Really enjoyed this so much. So we always finish off with a quick fire round. So to both of you, a few short questions. So if you went back to your younger self, what advice would you give yourselves?
I would actually probably say to myself, start this sooner. It's something that I'm thoroughly enjoying doing, and really do wish I had attempted this earlier. Although it might have been a very different environment on the basis that I wouldn't have had all the previous experiences to leverage. But given that I haven't started earlier, my advice to myself would just be crack on. Put the time in now, get everything you can going, and then worry about resting later on.
Yes, so my advice to Damian, let's say at an age of 18 perhaps, let's say, would be to, as James said, give it a go while you still can, while perhaps you live with your parents where there's no too much overheads, and you can make that decision. Hopefully you've got someone there, a mentor or father, that could help you out there. And just go for it, and don't look back.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Any books you would recommend?
So the books that I could definitely recommend, and I enjoyed reading, was the Getting Things Done by a gentleman called Alan.
David Allen.
The surname. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Yes, David Allen. So the amazing lesson that I've learned is to definitely get your jobs done that doesn't take longer than 2 minutes. That's my motto now. I really live by it. Another one is 4-hour work week, which obviously is unrealistic, but there's some good points there. And the last book is the Bible. Thank you.
Okay. Jay?
Mine are not anywhere near as intellectual as that, if I'm honest. I'm a bit more. I think I've reread Stephen Hawking's collection of books. I don't know how many times. It's something that I always come back to. My books tend to be around, actually nothing to do with this. Tend to be around physics and like science-esque books. Right now, I am just reading one around actually to do with the Templar, or I think something like that. It's I don't have any particularly brilliant recommendations, I'm afraid, on that one.
But science, the scientific approach, is one of the best approaches for business development. Don't underestimate a science background for business development. That I always tell my clients, the most important word in the world is experiment. When you experiment, if it fails, you learn. If you experiment, you win, you learn. If you had a plan and it just delivers, you haven't learned anything. You just had a plan that was successful. So experiment, the scientific approach is absolutely brilliant. Okay, podcasts.
I completely agree with that. Podcasts.
Any recommend?
Perhaps John Rogan.
Yeah,
is that Josh? Yes, Josh Rogan.
I'm a bit useless on that one. I'm currently running through a series of podcasts on how to raise a baby, which I keep getting sent by my wife. So I've been learning about weaning. In fact, if anyone has got any need for a decent how to bring up a child podcast, then certainly I'll put my wife in contact with you, because she's got a lot.
Brilliant. Thank you. Fantastic. You never know where this conversation is going to take you in life. Thanks, you guys. Onto your mobile phone. Any apps on your mobile phone that make a difference for you?
Oh, yes. One for me at the moment, actually, which is absolutely game-changing for what I'm doing at the moment. And that's an app called Photo Room. And it is an image generation app, utilizing AI, but not text to image or anything. It takes an image input, removes effectively what it assumes is the background you're not interested in, so picks out the product or the feature on that image, and then allows you to generate backgrounds. But those backgrounds are generated with an understanding of what the main feature is. So in terms of product marketing, that is next level, because you can take a picture which you're not otherwise necessarily in love with of your product or something you're trying to market, and then you can put it in the right setting or put it in a beautiful setting, and you can change that up continuously. And one feature it does have on top of that is you can create templates from a particular creation you've made, and then apply that to bulk images, and it does it through all of them, but tailors each background to the particular thing that's in your image that you're changing. It's absolutely brilliant. And if you are in the market for something to help you doing social media posts or some level of marketing posts, or even just some interesting photos to share, that is the app for you.
Awesome, thank you.
Mine is probably not as exciting as James's, but I have been using the LinkedIn Sales Navigator recently, and I have to say it's very useful for what I'm doing. So if you are in business development, then give it a go.
Awesome. So my favorite question of all, who's had the most influence on you as a business leader?
I would say that was the CEO of my last company. He was an exceptional business leader, but his knowledge of how to run a business, how to scale a business, how to run a tight operational process so that you can make money and make money safely and reliably. It was pivotal for me to learn what I did from him, and he taught me things that I hadn't ever done before, and taught me the way that he had done it for 30 years. So he was a brilliant mentor, and I can certainly thank him for a lot of what I know and have applied to this business.
It would have to be my current CEO, James. Not only we are good friends, but I've learned a lot from him, and he treats me well.
Thanks, man.
Awesome. Guys, brilliant. So, final question of all, how can people get hold of you?
So we'd like to invite you to visit our website. It's ElevationX Studios.com. So it's all one word, ElevationX Studios.com.
And from an email perspective, you can reach us both at James@ElevationXstudios.com and Damian@ElevationXstudios.com.
We do also have a special discount code for the listeners. If you do decide that you do need some models, you can just use the code ScaleUp to receive 20% off on the first model with us.
Brilliant. Well, that's very kind. That's very interesting. And I highly recommend people go and have a play and find out what they can do with their businesses to help bring out some exciting opportunities. So, Jay, Damian, thank you so much. Great conversation today.
Thank you very much for having us, Granger. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you ever so much. Yes, it has been a pleasure. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed that discussion, and if you're building and scaling your own business, you might well be interested in our book, The Entrepreneurial Scale-Up System. And it's exactly what it says on the tin. It's a practical handbook around scaling a business in a structured way. And you can order a copy on all your favorite online retailers, including an audio version, or you can find it and other supporting resources on our website, www.esusgroup.co.uk. That's esusgroup.co.uk, which is esusgroup.co.uk.
This has been a Monkey Pants Productions podcast.